Welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed. Let's get into today's episode. Hey team, welcome to Well Coached. This is a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm Chris Weinberg, your host, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs find their highest productivity zone so that they can become corporate enough to scale, grow their business, and maintain sanity at the same time. We're going to dive into it today with a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Callen who has founded and started a company called Sway Social. Callen runs this social media management company for influencers and brands all over the country. She's been at it a few years now and just on a meteoric growth rise. And I'm so happy to have her here today to chat about all of that. So Callen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here too. And how we've known each other maybe 3 or 4 years?
Three, little over 3.
Yeah. So we've been working together for 3 years now. And I remember when Callen, a mutual friend, introduced us to Callen, and I spoke with her, and I thought this gal's going places, and I wanted to hitch my wagon to her. And one thing you'll see throughout our journey together today is she's got an amazing amount of grit, which is what entrepreneurs need. She also has a brain on her head, which is helpful. Not always a requirement, but helpful to have a brain on your head, and cares about people. And the combination of all those things is a good recipe for doing something productive in life. And she's done that with this company, Sway Social. And we're going to dive into it. Callen, you know what? Working those lanes of people, sales, profit, and self. So we're going to talk about that journey a little bit, and we'll frame the conversation around that. But to start, why don't you tell us about Sway? I would like to know, I think our team members here would also like to know, why'd you start it? How'd you start it? What kind of things did you see missing in the marketplace? And how'd you jump off that pier toward entrepreneurship?
Yeah, how'd I take the leap? So I went to the University of Texas and Hook 'em horns. Welcome to the SEC. We'll see how that goes.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll need it. But I studied PR. And so I knew I wanted to work with people, and I knew I liked the entertainment world. But just at that point, influencer marketing wasn't what it is today. And so didn't really know what I wanted that to look like. So I went into corporate recruiting straight out of college, which was great. And I think I was able to take a lot of things from that have really helped kind of to your corporate enough mentality. Like I was able to kind of pull from that what I loved, and then some things that I'm like, oh, it's great to be able to be the one to decide how certain things look and make those things look different. But I knew I wanted to move to Nashville because I wanted to do entertainment of some sort. So I was thinking maybe music, but I knew I needed to get here to figure that out and make connections. So moved here with a corporate recruiting job and started just on the side working for a creator and I was her assistant. So I was handling her blog, her campaigns, her affiliate content, her editing. We shot content together, just everything. And that was way more fun than my 9 to 5. And so I also just realized there was such a gap in the market. There was not a place for creators to find a one-stop shop for those things. And so a lot of creators were either doing it themselves or trying to hire people in-house. And I mean, you know how it goes managing a team or training somebody. That isn't everybody's forte, and it's a lot of work, and a lot goes into that too. So I wanted to create something where people could come and have all their needs met rather than contracting out to a lot of people, and just be able to provide a really high level of service, quality service for creators so that they can take things off their plate and focus on building the other areas of their business. So that kind of initial model I had with that creator is what we based it on, but we've grown since then, and not everything was scalable about that. So it's been a learning curve of how to take that and make it into what Sway is now, which part of that is creating a brands division. So yeah, it's been an evolution, but that's kind of how we got started.
And how old is the company now?
3.5 years.
Yeah, 3.5 years. So, and a meteoric rise that you've been on too. And so the learning lessons, guys, there is that she's a student of the game, and she's continuously learning, continuously trying to improve the quality of what she's up to, and adjusting to an ever-changing marketplace at a super rapid rate now.
Yeah.
It feels like. So you started out, you're sidekicking and managing this one person And now you decided to go start the business.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like once you decided I'm going to go do this?
Yeah. So from the very beginning, the way that we grew was with referrals. And that still is such a one of our main ways that we find clients. But through working with that creator, I became close with her agency just because most creators have a management company that brings them their brand deals, does all the contracting, negotiating on their behalf. And so they have a really great relationship with a manager. But then the more tactical execution side of things is where that isn't in their wheelhouse. And so it kind of became this beautiful relationship of them referring people to me because it made their lives a lot easier too. Yeah. And so it started kind of small. They referred me to another creator. And then technically I was full-time with that. And then the referrals kept coming, which was great, but I couldn't keep taking them on myself. So it's kind of been this, and it still is to a certain point, but this chicken egg situation of sign a client, hire somebody, sign a client, hire somebody, and trying to figure that out. So hired our first employee in April after me going full-time with it in about February of 2021.
Okay. When you first started the company, it had a different name.
Yeah. Well, I never thought anybody would see that name. So I named it Hamilton Brand Management because I knew I needed an LLC. Okay. I thought that would just be, I was planning on just kind of freelancing. Yep. And so I was not thinking that it would grow into what it is now. I thought it would be really cool to scale this one day and I'll figure out branding and all of that then. But then as the opportunities were coming up, I was I'm not going to just keep referring people to somebody else. I want to do this and I want to get to create this and fill this gap. And so quickly did a little rebrand, little DBA as Sway Social. Yeah.
And the point I want to make there, I think that was the absolute right move. So lesson to the group, when you go out and form your company, and I hope you all become entrepreneurs at some point, because I'm a big believer in betting on yourself than betting on Acme Corporation. Name it something other than your own name.
Yes.
And a primary reason for that is that one day you may want to have an exit from that business and may want to be able to sell it to someone. And people get weird about buying somebody's last name, even if it's just a subconscious thing. It's harder to buy Hamilton, who there she is, than it is to buy Sway. Or with me, it's easier to buy a well-coached than it is Weinberg. There are too many personal attachments for a potential buyer to potentially have to sort through. Mm-hmm. So you made the right move early. Lots of folks don't ever make that move or make it way down the line, but you put real intentional effort.
Yeah.
And that's really when your branding game took off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think branding, especially in the industry we're in, it's everything. And so Hamilton Brand Management, which isn't even my last name andianymore, wouldn't have carried us very far. So I'm glad we made that.
What if you just changed it to the new last name?
Yeah, Boyer.
Let's talk about, let's dive into the people, sales, profit part. And you started leaning in that direction. But now you get going, you start getting clients and now you got to start, you can't get all the results through yourself.
Yeah.
Woo. So how do you go about trying to find the right person and how are we building the team?
That has been an ongoing challenge. I think it's just really hard to, I think coaching somebody in something, I respect what you do so much because getting results through other people is really, really hard. And especially when it's something where everybody's working with different clients. So not every relationship is going to look the same in general. There's so many personalities. The people we work with are big personalities. So to use your lingo, you're wanting the family tree to fork, but also not too much because we know now we've kind of honed in on this personality type that works really well to kind of balance the creativity and the organization. So that was a process. And I think the disc that we've done together has been really helpful to figure out ahead of time before hiring people what their, strengths are, what the opportunities are going to be, what we might need to look out for in terms of, okay, we need an extra set of eyes on grammar or whatever the detail is before it goes out the door. But I think the people are with every business, but especially with the way the people that we're interacting with, it's so important that the person on our team is trustworthy. Yeah. I think we have access to a lot of confidential information, a lot of just personal relationship stuff that level of trust and integrity goes so far with our clients. And I think especially in the industry, this is a blanket statement, so can't speak for everybody, but there's a lot of kind of transactional or maybe in it for themselves type of businesses or business models. Mm-hmm. And it was so important to me that we set ourselves apart in that way and that we had that level of respect with our clients where they knew that we were in their corner, and they like a win for them is a win for us. And that's like our priority and our goal. And so finding the right team members to bring that to life is challenging, because a lot of people want to work in the industry because seems like glitz and glam, which when you're in the weeds of editing like a, hour-long video, the glitz and glam wears off pretty quickly. Yeah. But just finding people who care about the clients and are willing to go above and beyond and make them have a great experience with Sway. Yeah.
You have unique challenges because, like you said, your clients may be, most of them are highly creative. A gross generalization is that highly creative people can be highly emotional and have pendulum swings. And so you've got to have team members who can handle that, right? And so how do we absorbing all of that and then creating a trust bond? Because I would imagine your clients lean on your team members very heavily for things more than taking a picture.
Oh, totally. So even I feel like it's such one thing that people don't talk about a ton with the influencer space is it's really vulnerable for our clients to put themselves out there in the way that they do and share. I mean, whether it's like a postpartum, partnership, or maybe it's just something where they're talking about an experience they had that is hard to share. There's a lot of affirmation on our end that like is part of gaining that trust, but also just, making sure that they aren't just feeling like they're putting something out into the world that's a void. And it's like, are people liking it? That was a lot to share, but really being, again, in their corner and helping them see the good that they are doing and the impact they're making. And then also helping them hone in on what people want to see and like guiding their content in a way that feels true to them, but also a way that we think will be beneficial to them.
Awesome. So with that, your team members sometimes have to carry heavy emotional loads. And I'm sure that can be daunting at times. Talk to me about some of the strategies that you guys use to keep your team members motivated and aligned together to your vision. You put intentional effort into all of that. So share some of that. By the way, folks, one thing Callan does really well at her young age is this part of the conversation in terms of keeping her team motivated and on track and vision share together. So ears up.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, I first of all just love my team. I feel so lucky because the people who are on the team work so hard and like really, I feel like care about my vision. And so that helps a lot that they're already bought in. I think the interview process is really helpful for me to, before somebody even comes in, set the expectation of what I want out of each team member and what it looks like to be a successful team member at Sway. But I think in terms of keeping everybody motivated, it's also our disc profile of our team is very similar to our clients in that very much so people, and so a lot of emotion in a great way. And I think that a lot of good can come from that when it's fostered in the right way. So for us, what that looks like is kind of bringing the team together for, like, I think it's culture stuff. It's bringing the team together for things that seem simple, like maybe it's a coffee session date before the workday, or just creating conversation starters. Since we have so many remote employees, we have a group text that's always popping off. And so I think finding ways for people to feel connected when they're apart, but also I think it really comes down to letting people know that they're valued. And so taking feedback is a really big way that I think we succeed in that, is asking for feedback and then implementing the things that people say matter to them. So one example, we had an employee say that, she loved her manager, had all great things to say, but felt a little bit disconnected from anybody beyond her manager, or like specifically upper management. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that is hard to hear, because I want everybody to be so happy, but also that's such an easy fix. So I love getting feedback that I can actually change. And so now we do once a month, everybody on the team meets with either me or our director of talent just to check in and hear where they're at. I think it's a great space for us to just get a better feel for what their pain points are, what's going really well, what they're excited about, bandwidth, like all of those things that I think go a long way with motivating the team. It comes down to, do they feel valued and heard? And that motivates people to work hard, I feel like. And also we have an annual team retreat, and I feel like it's that just the camaraderie and everybody loves like a cute aesthetic. Obviously they work in the social media field. So being able to kind of create this really fun experience for people to come together and be the ones who get to kind of create their own content and do that kind of thing for a few days and do professional development, and all of that is one of the highlights of the year for the team.
That's awesome. And thank you for teeing that up. And I'll quote Ken Blanchard here. Some of you know I'm a Ken Blanchard disciple, and one of his things is people are your most dynamic resource, and people who feel good about themselves are going to produce better results. And you are super intentional about that. And back to this thing about most businesses are a commodity. Like you're not the only person you're not the only person doing what you do. Mm-hmm. I'm not the only person being an executive coach. I think what separates first-class companies are leaders who pour into the people side of the business, whether that's sharing the vision up front, right, showing what that good performance looks like, and then nurturing along the way, even if it's just fast conversations, fast mm-hmm. check-in points, keeping the alignment, which you've done a great job of doing. I also appreciate, Callan, that you have an ability to cut a loss if it's not working. And so I see this a lot in creative businesses where the person is so people-oriented that they'll hang on to things too long. Mm-hmm. And you're developing a skill set at a young age of being able to call a spade. And that also protects the team.
Yeah.
Right. And the leader does have to cull the herd from time to time to protect the bigger culture play.
Which you, I feel like, have helped me with that a lot, and it's still, that is like the worst part of the whole thing when that happens. It's like, I mean, truly lose sleep over those kind of conversations and decisions. But I think seeing it from the lens that you have helped me see it has made it all just so much clearer. Like, it really doesn't do anybody any favors to hold on longer than you should. And I learned that the hard way. I think you learn as you go. And so it gets easier not to actually do it, but to know that that's the right decision. And I guess I'm more confident in trusting my gut on those things now mm-hmm. and know whether I think I just question, did I do everything I could to make sure that, we set them up for success? And if the answer to that is yes, then it's you. I always hear your voice in my head saying survival of the enterprise. Like, that is my priority. And that is literally my job, is to make sure that I'm creating opportunity for people and keeping the wheels on the bus, that like we're moving forward. And so that clarity helps to make hard decisions. Yeah,
that's a great point. And here's the thing, team members out there in podcast land, it is okay to hate to fire people, and it should suck. Right. That just generally means that you care about others. And so it's okay that having hard discussions or hard decisions to make is hard. That means you're empathetic and care about others. But then having an ability to do it goes to the survival of the enterprise and what's for the greater good. So I would never try to coach anybody into being an Attila the Hun. There are some people out there that act like that, but I can't stand doing it, right? And I've been doing it a couple years longer than you. It sucks to have to let go of a poor performer and question all the things you just said. Did I do everything I could? Did I set the vision right? Did I provide the right training? Were they in the right seat? But if you can answer all of those things, it gets down to making the right decision versus a comfortable decision.
Yeah.
And so well done. Let's talk about sales a little bit, and talk to me about how our strategies for attracting clients and more importantly, retaining clients.
Yeah.
How do you go about that intentionally?
Yeah, I think I touched on this earlier, but referrals have been by far the biggest way that we have attracted clients, which is great. I think now we're at a place where earlier this year we had somebody on the team that has started to help with business development, which has been awesome to be able to do more outreach. But I think that having that core of the clients who come to us be from referrals is such a testament to the level of service that we provide, whether it's coming from a current client that's referring a friend or an agency who maybe we already have 5 of their talent and they're like funneling people to us.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the ideal situation, because that also kind of helps us know this person probably is going to be a fit if they're coming from somebody who knows how we work and that kind of thing. But I think one of our pain points has been figuring out who is the right type of client for us, which then leads into retaining clients. I think because there's no one size fits all, every creator is so different. And a lot of times it isn't until you're in it that you know whether or not they're a fit. Retention has been a pain point. We have a lot of people who have been with us since we started,
right,
over 3 years, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have people who maybe have come to us for a year. They get to a point where they're ready to hire somebody in-house, which is a different type of model. And that's great. And we had a great experience. They were super happy, but they're just ready for a different level of service. And then we have people who come quickly on either side or both sides. We realize this isn't a great fit. So I think a challenge for us has been honing in on who the right client is. And thankfully, we are making progress in that. And now able to have some parameters around, okay, we know that we'll be successful for this type of person, or this one's a little bit on the fence, and we can be upfront with somebody about that. I always like to say, we want to set the expectation accurately with somebody that like, let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes. We'll shoot you straight if it's not a fit, and you do the same for us. So I think those things are helping us move in the direction of better retention.
You mentioned the referral part of the business, which you've been able to achieve at a very, very young age. Most businesses, when they start out, don't have the opportunity to get referrals because they don't have a track record yet. But for those out there in podcast land, whenever you can get your business into a state to where you're referral driven, that's your nirvana. And early on in the business, to your point about finding the ideal client, that takes a minute, right? Because in the beginning, we want to take a check from anybody who will give us a check so that we can survival of the enterprise. As you perform, performance equals referrals, period, right? If you're not performing as a company, you are not going to get any referrals. But when you do what you say you're going to do and success starts happening, birds of a feather flock together. So your referral base starts shaping your ideal client.
Yeah,
right?
And I think another thing that I hear in my head all the time of your words is you got to kiss a lot of frogs.
That's right.
And that you kind of have helped us as we've kind of transitioned from take a check from anybody because like we got to have something coming in to, okay, we can be a little bit more selective and like we want to, then you have a reputation to uphold if you're getting referrals and you want to know that you're going to do a good job for somebody before taking them on because then that's kind of a delicate balance of protecting that reputation.
Right.
So yeah, I have a few of your slogans on repeat in my head.
Tell me about the needs and expectations. Are they different for the influencers versus the brands? Because you've got Callen's got two sides of the companies, right? So we got the brand side where we work with established brands or emerging brands, and then the influencer side, which is highly individualistic. How is that a challenge?
I think it's so similar in a lot of ways because influencers really are their own brand. Like there are a lot of differences, but the reason that the brand division even started is because so many creators were starting their own brands. And with our goal of being that one-stop shop, I didn't want people having to go to a different agency for their brand socials. Okay. I'm like, why can't we just have it all in one place? And again, it's a different person on the account. It's a separate division. But for it all to funnel through. So two divisions,
one on influencer side and one on the brand side.
Yes. So different teams. Okay. But for that all to sit under one roof makes it easier for the talent that they can have one meeting. If we want to bring everybody together, we can just make it more seamless on their end. So it is different. And I think for example, on the brand side, we have different kinds of brands too. Some are product-based brands. Some are more of like a membership type thing or a service. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that is really important in our team members is that we can bounce back and forth between things quickly. And also it's kind of consulting in a way of being able to learn something and jump in and take what you know from a different area and apply it to something else. But there's a lot of synergy between the two divisions. And then there's a lot of differences because the nature of the business is just a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay. So what I heard in there too is there's some transferable skill set between the two, right? Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And recognize that too, team members out there listening. Transferable skill sets are vastly underappreciated and vastly underused. If you've got a skill set in something, but maybe you're not loving doing it, it is probably transferable into something that may be more exciting or even enhance what you're up to currently. So don't get lost on the importance of transferable skill sets. So that's great. On the profit side of the business, so now how many team members now?
18.
18. Good gracious. 18 people in 3 years is freaking amazing. So with that comes the pressure of keeping the business afloat and growing profitability and all that. Talk to me about strategies of how are you managing your financial principles and strategies to ensure that we make it to the next week and to the next year and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, I would say. I feel like to the point earlier about just if firing people is tough, then you have some empathy. I think I really feel the weight of I want to create opportunity for my team and I want them to be happy. And I know that there's a lot riding on me showing up and steering the ship. And so that's also a big honor, though, to get to be somebody who helps create and provide those opportunities. And so I think I love numbers. I'm not in a way of I'm great with numbers, but I think it's fascinating to look at them. And with somebody like you who can help me dive into the detail of it, it's been really helpful to kind of hone in on what areas are the most profitable for us. Some areas are more of an investment for us and, building out something that eventually will be profitable. So I think making sure that we have a mix of those things is important so that we're not siloed into one revenue stream or one thing because the industry changes so fast. It's like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And you want to be able to pivot quickly. But I think one of the good things about the type of work we do is for a long time, everybody we hired was generating revenue. So there was a more clear, okay, we took on these clients, we can afford to pay these people. But as we've grown, we need people who are working in the background operations and doing things that aren't necessarily client facing or bringing in business directly. And
those are scary first hires, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very scary. But also have been literally life-changing. So very thankful for those. But I think that is where the financial stuff and the figuring out the profitability and all of that gets a little bit more murky and complicated. So I think that's something that's ever evolving and changing. But as we kind of hone in on the caliber of clients that we want to be working with and that we can do a great job for, it automatically sets us up a little bit more for a sustainable business model in that sense.
Okay. Are you doing your accounting in-house or do you have somebody else helping you?
No. Yeah, that was a quickly outsourced thing. Yeah. But yeah, we outsource that. And I have somebody on our team who compiles all the information and handles overseeing and approving those things. But we have that outsourced. Yeah.
And team out there listening, I'm a huge proponent of, unless you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, of outsourcing that part of your business. The last thing in the world I want to do is make her the best accountant in the world. She has a unique gift, and the mission of a good leader or entrepreneur is to find your highest productivity zone and stay in it. And although I'm sure she could go run QuickBooks if we said that's your mission today, there are experts who do that. And the other reason I like to outsource accounting is that you've got a non-interested third party looking at your numbers. They aren't motivated by anything other than giving you facts. And that's important, right? As a business owner, because we can accidentally let our emotions sometimes get involved in decision making, but numbers don't lie. It's like a report card, right? And so that's a great way to look at it. Plus, so many things change in the accounting world nonstop, whether it's tax laws or things like that. You want someone who's in that lane every single day, focused on it, so you can be brilliant training and hiring your team.
Yeah.
So, well.
And I will say that has been something that's been helpful to just have time under our belt, because in the beginning, it was like, obviously we didn't have trends. We didn't know the curve of like our most profitable times, the times when we should expect to see a dip, like all of those things. So just having that history now keeps me like mentally sane of knowing what to expect and that's normal. And also just being able to have outside help on a budget and implementing and making sure that we're kind of staying on track with that and all that.
That's a good point too. And because so it allows you, being a business owner is stressful. Life is stressful. Being a business owner is stressful, but especially if you cross bridges for the first time, now you've got a few seasons under your belt and you've got some security blocks in place to help you not be stressed out about the things that stressed you out last year shouldn't be the things that stress you out next year. And that's an important lesson for everybody. You want to be able to conquer and shed a fear or a nervousness because the next one's coming, right? And you don't want these things just to keep piling up. You want to be able to handle it, face the fear, face the nervousness, face the deficiency, get it in its right place so that you can go be worried about the next thing, right? Something big's coming. So we want to have mental capacity to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. Let's head into the self thing a little bit. So you and your team, they're dealing with people's intimate moments, their social media stuff, all of that can be super taxing. They're in front of screens. How do you maintain your creativity and sanity in an industry that is very demanding and fast-paced?
I think what I would want to say is that time unplugged is the way to refuel. And I know that that's true, but I don't think that that's necessarily my reality. And that has worked up into this point. And I think the goal is obviously as the business grows that I can take a few more steps back and be more unplugged. But what has worked for me, I think, is finding the moments that I can, even if they're small, and making the most of those. So I travel a lot. It'll be a weekend trip. It'll be in and out. I'll be working kind of while I'm there, but figuring out those moments to make sure that I'm, to the best of my ability, doing both. I'm taking care of myself, but I also made a commitment when I started a business,
right,
that for the first few years, this is going to be intense and this is going to be, a huge sacrifice. So I think it's cool to be at a place where now I feel like we have some foundation set and I can unplug more. But in the beginning, that really wasn't necessarily a reality. I think for the team, it's something that I'm really protective over. And I should apply that to myself too. But it is just a job where it's so easy to get burned out. And so, especially with so much of it being texting back and forth with clients, there is you can't shut it off.
It's not 9 to 5.
No, it's 11 p.m. It's 6 a.m. It's, all the things. And especially with different time zones and all of that. So I think I'm really protective over when people go on PTO. I'm like, I don't want to hear from you. You need to be off your computer. You need to be like, we take them out of any text they're in. We really try to protect that time for them. And I love when people take their PTO and go do something that what we consistently see is they come back and it's better. They're better. They're in a better space. They're excited. So I think time away is really important, and carving out little moments is helpful where you can.
I think that's great. I think you do a great job of getting out of town, and you mentioned maybe staying a little connected while you're out of town, and that's okay too, right? Like total unplug doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for me. I like to stay a little plugged in because it's less stress for me. Right. Yeah. And that might be the same for you. Callan and I share the very same disc profile. So we probably have a lot of the same personal tendencies. The other thing you do really well that you didn't mention is physical fitness is a big deal to you. Mm-hmm. And that is an ultimate stress reliever. Yeah. Right. That is an ultimate stress reliever for, I'm pretty big into it too, but I do it as much for the stress relief as I do to look okay, right?
No, yeah, and mental health.
The mental health is a huge part of that. Yeah. And so these daily tweaks that you've got in your life are serving you well. And, I think a lot of that's, Callan's got a wonderful mother. I think a lot of that was imprinted on you at an early age. So I work with so many people, so many adults that will try to start focusing in the self area. And they'll say, but I just wasn't brought up that way. I didn't have anybody modeling. And that is so important, right? Because to a large degree, we are products of our environment. I believe that. I do think you can change your environment. But you had it imprinted on you from an early age of mental health, how to take care of yourself, how to be an entrepreneur. So your framework was really strong and remains strong.
Yeah. And I think exercise has been such a constant. That sounds like silly to say, but there are a lot of changes, a lot of emotions with starting a business. Yes. And that's been like the staple. Even at my lowest, I'm able to go to the gym. And even if it's not lifting or whatever that I normally like to do, it's like the routine of it that is therapeutic in some way. And also that's a great way to, I think, start the day off in a productive way. It's like before 8 a.m., I've already done something really hard. And I have goals to work towards that aren't work related. Because I think that is another hard thing about being an entrepreneur is it's like your identity so easily becomes work and what you can achieve. And I think it's important to have things outside of that you're working towards and striving for and relationships that you're, prioritizing and things like that. But I also think faith has helped me a lot in that because when your identity is resting in your work and what you do, it is, I feel like I naturally lean that way and it's a scary place. It's like a lot of pressure. It's really, when that's happening and you have lows in the business, it's tough. And so I think just having just the security and knowledge of like where my identity actually is, and also the awareness that like, no matter what I think I'm controlling about the situation, I'm actually not the one that is steering the ship. I know I said I was earlier. I'm not. I think I am sometimes. But I think that has been so helpful. And then another thing I think is having the right people in your corner, like having you that talks me off a ledge a lot. And also friends and family. Like I have the most amazing people. I feel like you've gotten to meet some of them, but that seriously root for me and are in my corner, but also will confront me with a hard truth. I feel like my husband does a great job of pointing me in the direction of truth and faith and who I really am and what really matters. And sometimes it's tough to hear because I'll be wanting to achieve something on my own or whatever. And having those people that aren't afraid to bring you back to what matters is, I think, really contributes to being able to be successful.
Yeah, it keeps you grounded and tethered. And I like to think of successful entrepreneurs as you're on this balloon ride that's heading up, hopefully heading up.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes if your identity's caught up in that, even if it goes great, sometimes entrepreneurs will start falling in love with the business more than anything else. So relationships fail, health fails, all those things. And you've done a good job of keeping yourself balanced, whether it's through the exercise or through your faith or through your mom or now through Daniel. You've got good tethers around you. And so that your identity, work is not your identity. It's just not. So many people confuse those two. But I want your business to be what fuels the rest of the life. So great job
and
there.
I think just to bring it full circle to what you were saying about not naming a business after yourself, that's a part of it too. Like I want the business to be outside of me for multiple reasons, but for my own sanity. Like I am not the business. Like I am a piece of the puzzle, and it's important, obviously, the vision and those things, but I am not Sway. Like I am a separate person from that. And so I think that's an important distinction, and that's kind of just like a representation of that with the name. But
awesome. Last question. What does the future hold for Sway? What do we look like in the next few years?
I always love this question because I'm like, if anybody could tell me what the social media landscape is going to be in the future, that would be amazing. I always say, like, wherever it is, that's where we'll be. We are pivoting. And a lot of times it's small pivots. So you don't even realize. I look back and I'm like, 2 years ago, that's how we were doing things. Like where that's what the industry was like at that point. So it's hard to say where it will be. But I think some things that I'm really excited about. One goal that we are currently working towards is establishing ourselves in the music industry a little bit more. Yeah. So we have this talent division, we have this brands division, and I feel like musicians are kind of a perfect middle of those things. It's finding that sweet spot. And so I'm really excited to kind of be diving more into that lane soon. And then also we have an affiliate course that I'm really excited about.
Yes.
So when it comes to affiliate marketing, which for anybody who doesn't know is LTK, Amazon Associates, anything that you're linking and making a commission for. So when you're on Instagram and you see somebody like tap to shop my whatever, we handle that strategy and execution for creators. There isn't a lot of education out there on how to use those platforms, how to set up a strategy, and then obviously executing it is an extremely time-consuming thing as well. But that was something that I taught myself when I was working for the creator. And another thing where I just realized there's such an opportunity to help people get started. And a lot of clients come to us, or potential clients come to us, and it might not be a fit for them to outsource it yet. It's an investment, obviously, to pay a team to do that for you. So I wanted to it's been a dream to have something that we can give to people to get them started and then hopefully be able to work with them down the road. So we have a course that we've shot, and it will be launching in time for Q4 because that is like peak affiliate time with holidays, and you know how many sales are run and Black Friday and Prime Day and all the things. So it was really important to me to get that out in time for Q4. But that's a great starting point for anybody that is interested in being an influencer. Or we also touch on organic content in there and creating an organic content strategy. So I'm really excited to have a resource for people with that.
I can't wait to see it. Well, great job so far, and I'm so proud to be on the journey with you. And,
well, thanks for keeping me on the rails.
Well, listen, I got a tiger by the tail in you for sure. But thanks a bunch, guys, and that's it, guys. And this is Callen from Sway Social. Go check her out on her website and see who you were working with is on the website too, right? Yeah, she works with just the coolest people. She got great clients, and it's just a fun business, and she's got a great business mindset, but also she's certainly not full of herself. She's a humble person that knows how to laugh at herself, have a good time, and build one heck of a team along the way. So thanks a bunch.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, guys, that's a wrap for today. We thank you a ton for listening and looking forward to the next episode, where we'll continue this journey on how becoming corporate enough can put you in your highest productivity zone to create a successful, profitable, and purpose-driven business for you.